Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We're bringing you tonight a Champions League stream. Two matches coming up to you guys real fast here. First one's going to start in about 2 minutes from now. First match of the night is going to be R-7 versus VILIN. And the second match later will be Mahu, however you guys say it. I know you guys are going to ridicule me out there for however I'm going to butcher that name. So please correct me. Other than that, it'll be Mahu versus Simp. That'll be at 10 o'clock Eastern. Two very good champions matches coming up here. I'm really looking forward to it. Uh, as always, I am Rockstar. Alongside me is Spanish doing your camera work tonight. Please give us a follow on Twitter, our YouTube channel. All the replays of all the matches we do will be up on YouTube within 24 hours of the matches being finished. I am pretty stoked for this. Spanish, thoughts about tonight?
I think we're in for a good fight. I know that Villain has quite a few members that are a part of GoBob, the Gold League WGLNA team. I don't know much about R-7, but I expect that they're in the same league, so I'd assume it's going to be a good fight.
Yep. So R-7 really got onto the map. They've always been a pretty strong clan. They are Latin American based, Central and South America, and they're probably the strongest clan from that region. Their caller Sheep is probably one of the better callers in the North American region, so very capable. They really showed what they could do in this last mini campaign. They finished second overall to none other than Otter, so they showed they have the activity and the ability to win fights. So this should be a really good series. Villian, as you said, they have a lot of Gold League players, not just on Go Bobs, but they have some players on several other high-profile Gold League teams. So a lot of capability on both these teams. I think it'll be a good series. Looking at the standings right now, R7 is currently in fourth place with 3 wins, 1 overtime win, 2 overtime losses, and 1 loss total. Meanwhile, Villian is in sixth place with 4 wins and 3 losses. No tiebreakers of any type for them. So, both teams right around the table on each other. There's only 1 point separating these on the table right now. So, very, very close. I think this is going to be a good series. We're starting off on Sand River right now for the first 4 battles. And then the second map for tonight will be Siegfried Line, which, once is another one of those maps where my only experience with it is in PUBG team battles in attack defend. I've called it in Clan Wars a pretty extensive amount, but I've never been a huge fan of it on, in team battles and attack defend. I don't think it's all that balanced, to be quite honest. How that works out with tier 10s will be another story. So we are into battle number 1 for tonight, R7 versus Villian. Lineups, R7 bringing 4 215Bs. More E5s than I can count. I believe that's 8 of them. It's 7 or 8 T110 E5s. I'll find out in a minute. A 140, a 62A, and a Gun Conquer. So 3 and 7, so 7 E5s. Meanwhile, Villian, 4 T110 E5s, 6 Object 140s, 2 T62As, a T110 E3, and an M5355 themselves. So both teams deciding to go with Artie. R7 starting this first round on offense. They're going to go with, it looks like, a split play. I'm not always the biggest fan of split plays. Actually, take that back. Now they're changing their mind. Their E5s are coming back in the middle. It looked like they were going to send their E5s north and everything else south and have a huge split, which the second Villian recognized that, they would have jumped on it. So it looks like a pretty strong lineup out of both teams here. I know a lot of players on both these teams. Looking over at Villian, you got Ajax, Major Trouble, Villian Lives Matters, Zombie Food, who's the main caller for Go Bobs, LZ Snyder, who's the clan CO. A lot of very talented players, not to take away from the rest of them, but they're all exceptionally experienced. R7, Sheep is their CO, and he's their main caller, and he is a exceptional caller. Not too familiar with too many of the other players on there, but obviously doing what they've been doing recently, they deserve to be here. So, Villian choosing to set up north in a pretty standard setup. They got 1 object 140 down south, just being eyes down there. A lot of their tanks went north, and it looks like a majority of the mediums from Villian are going to go ahead and push over this north ridge. And if this object 140 of R7 is not careful, he's going to get run over. He needs to be I don't think he spotted them yet, or he'd be turning. No, he's running, so he's seen them, and it's going to depend if they can get shots on him as he runs. Maybe get a track shot. They're closing with him fast. He's not quite out of there. He's taking a good bit of damage, but the E5 sitting in base for R7 are going to put some shots out. An artillery shot coming out. A one-hit shot from the Conqueror Gun GC onto the T-62A, moving full speed for 1950. RNG, please. Oh my lord, what a shot. So these E5s and this 140 are just going to hold up in base. They got these two mediums from VILIN just kind of pinned in here. Meanwhile, the rest of the tanks for R7 are moving down this ravine. They're going to find this E3. If this E3 is not careful, he's going to get focused out. But the rest of these guns for VILIN sitting over here on the 0 line have a really good, strong crossfire going on. If it was just the Z3 alone, he'd probably be susceptible to be getting pushed and killed. But VILIN have so many other guns spread out from so many other places that it's going to be really hard for them to push on and kill it. It looks like they're finally getting some pens. It looks like they're just going to eat the shells, some heat shells going out, and artillery coming through again and getting the kill on that T110 E3. So the first kill, there was nothing that T62A could do about that. That spot in an E3, he's never going to get to anywhere where he's already safe. So VILIN maybe not respecting artillery as much as they should on this map as far as that goes. I'm not going to try to argue that 62A wasn't being already safe because he definitely, was not camping. So we'll have to see there. All right, so meanwhile, a bunch of the 215Bs of R7 are pushing down the 0 line. They're going to clean out this medium. They're just going to push over. They're going to use the rocks as cover, the tank's corpse, and they're just going to eat it. The E5s on the inside here on the 8 line are going to push up on all ridges. They're going to look for some shots. VILIN has a bunch of their E5s holding this bull up here at D7, and they have really good shots south, so it's going to make it really hard for R7 to advance out of this river. Meanwhile, 215Bs are actually doing a really good job focusing down tanks. R7 has about a 4,000 damage lead right now, and they're up by 3 tanks. R7 has not lost a tank yet, but they do have a 140 that's a one-shot. He seems to be in the backfield, though, so I don't think he's going to get found anytime soon. It's this T62A and 215B that are sitting here hold down with 5 guns opposite of them. All these Russian mediums and the C5 are sitting here shooting at them from a distance. So, an artillery shot coming out there. Finally, VILIN get their first kill, taking out the 215B and splashing the 62A for some others. The other 215B is looking for some shots. VILIN, or R7's only up by about 3K, so this damage lead's slipping a little bit. And now the flank, the tanks that were sitting in base for R7 over there at D2 when the attacker spawn are finally going to rotate in, and they're going to flank this north group and try to clean out this bull. They got these 215Bs coming in here. This E5's point blank with Zombie Food and this T62A. Zombie Food getting some bounces off of his turret there. R7 finding some pens on him. These 215Bs, Zombie Food doing what he can to make this costly for him. He's not giving it to him easy. He knows he's going to go down, but he's just making him work. Only a matter of a few seconds here. He's only on 169 HP. He's going to get found, and R7 have a 6-2 lead right now. So these E5s, or 215Bs, are going to push around. There's 2 E5s with most of their HP versus 3 tanks that are relatively low. Meanwhile, the E5s that were over in the bowl have come across that 1 cap, and they're going to push in to flank this group on the 0 line. It's a reasonably smart play, and they're only leaving, by pushing in there, they're making these tanks over here on the 0 line pick a direction. The tanks that are still up on the hill don't really have shots on them right there because they're down in the low ground. So these VILIN tanks have to push up, but there's guns on either side, so they have to pick which scenario they're more favored to win in right now, and it seems they're going to decide to push down in this bull. Artillery shot coming out, hitting 2 tanks for 700 each. All 3 of these guys are down to 1 or 2 shots. Now they're all 1 shots. It's only a matter of time. And while I wasn't even looking, there was 2 E5s that snuck onto the cap. They got the base capture. So R7, pretty commanding stuff there. They took a nice 9-4 lead early. They were up on HP and they capped out. And I don't doubt that if they had just gotten off cap, they would have cleaned that up. Just kills, but deciding to end it pretty early there. Thoughts there, Spanish?
I thought it was a little bit unlucky right off the bat with that 140 getting, or was that a 62A that got dropped instantly by artillery?
Yeah, no, you can't count on that. That was Striker in the object 2, or not an object, in the T62A, getting 2 shots off for none hit. You can't really blame him because those were shots on the move. And that GC coming through huge here for R7. He got up 5,600 damage in 5 shots.
Yep.
So, very, very consistent shooting out of him. I'm not really sure if R7 have any dedicated RD players like some other clans. But you know, that shot he made is not an easy shot by any means. 62A moving full speed. They weren't even driving in a straight line. They weren't making it easy, and he still managed to line that up and take it. And then he got extra lucky getting the full pen out of that and just dropped them. So, you know, good momentum. It put the momentum in R7's favor, certainly, from the early moments of that battle.
Absolutely. I'm not really too sure about that 3-tank move to the south. They really hadn't. I think that's the south, towards the attacker spawn. Um, you don't really have that much information at that point in the battle. It's kind of like you're sending 3 tanks to spot something, and if you run into an overmatch there, those tanks are dead, and then your heavy tanks aren't quick enough to find an overmatch.
Right. Yeah, no, certainly. My experience with this map um, is the reason you do that. You're trying to open up vision. You don't want to leave. You don't want to leave that area for them free because if they have tanks in those spots where they have those E5s, they have good side shots on everything going back to that south cap, and then they're in a great position to come in with a late flank, which is exactly what R7 did there. Once they had their tanks there and VILIN realized that there were guns there, they just turned and drove away. And then it was those same tanks that came in and really put VILIN in a hard spot there. Just everything R7 did was, they got a little bit lucky with the gun conquer, but a lot of their movements were very solid. They pushed themselves into good spots. They had eyes all over the map. They were doing a good job at getting intel on VILIN. They knew where all their tanks were before VILIN could find out where the tanks of R7 were. Extremely good intel, extremely good positioning. There were not many isolated tanks for R7. There weren't many easily exploited overmatches. And they did a really good job. If there was an overmatch, they made sure to punish them while they were trying to get it, which is what happened there. At the end there with VILIN with those tanks on the zero line, they had to pick a direction and go. And there was, multiple guns on both sides. There was no easy way for them to, any easy direction for them to push into and get out of that crossfire. So we're on to battle number 2, guys. It is 1-0 in favor of R7. R7 going with 3 215Bs, bringing in 8 T110 E5s, 2 T62As, and a Conqueror gun carriage. Meanwhile, VILIN, 5 T110 E5s, a Bat Chat, 8 Object 140s, and a M53 55. So, it's 7 Object 140s. So, both teams choosing to bring a lot of E5s, and for this map, I don't see why not. It's a very solid heavy tank, especially after the buff. It's got a great turret, very mobile, great gun depression, and when you have a map with all these hills and stuff, it's a great tank to put in here. So, meanwhile, VILIN, first round on offense out of them. They are pushing very similar to what R7 did, but they're not leaving any tanks sitting in base. Sitting back, they're pushing all their guns forward. They've only left the one Bat Chat up north for eyes. That's zombie food up there. So he's used to doing a lot of scouting. He does a lot of scouting for GoBob. If I recall, he plays a good bit of tier 6 for GoBobs as well. So, it's a very natural position for him. Meanwhile, R7 going, they've gone a lot heavier. They've only brought the 2 mediums. So they pushed a bunch of E5s up north. They got them tucked in and hold down. And the rest of the E5s are sitting here on this south bowl at D7. They're sitting here tucked in. So some shots going out. This T62A for R7 is going to get caught out. He doesn't know that he could have sat there and been fine because VILIN took the shortcut out across cap, and he gets focused down and taken out right off the bat. Our VILIN have started just in general with significantly less HP than R7 have, and they've done a good job to claw into that a little bit, but then they lost out on it right here. These 215Bs all sitting here ready to trade with these mediums, and these mediums aren't making very good progress against these E5s versus these 215Bs despite having the overmatch. Already came in, helped them out, and you don't want to mess with these. You do not want to be in DPM battles with 215Bs. They have just insane DPM. the E5s from R7 have moved out of this bowl and they've gone down to this middle ridge here, down on the Fox line, and they have side shots on these mediums. So these mediums are in a very tough place, and they need to pick a way to get out here. Fire starting on Sheep right there, but auto fire extinguisher put it out, so he needs to be careful not to get shot in the front again, or he's going to sign on fire again. The rest of these tanks coming down from the hill, they've joined and reinforced the rest of these 215Bs that were already here. And these Villian tanks are getting a little bit stalled out. Conqueror gun carriage finding a kill onto this LZ Snyder in that object 140 for 1,000. And it looks like a lot of the guns from R7 are just going to collapse onto these mediums. They still have a 3k HP lead. 215s are just going to push in. They know these mediums don't want to be in a head-to-head brawl right now. They don't want to play trade games. And it's only going to be a matter of time before these mediums and base get focused out. It depends on how much damage the rest of these tanks for Villian can do. Can these E5s clean this up? They're doing a really good job at chipping back into the HP. They've taken about 1,000 back. The E5s, 215Bs are going to push around, and now all of a sudden, it's just going to be one force on force. There's only one tank down the south in Tesla in this object 140, and R7 haven't sent anyone to deal with him, and he's going to sit here and get clean side shots on these tanks, and they're not doing anything about it. You know, one tank turning, and he's going to get focused, and now R7 is just going to choose to push forward and push onto this E5. Artillery shot coming out here, only splashing for a couple hundred. R7 are not in a very strong place right now. They have a minor HP lead, but it could change with just a couple shots. So they're just going to go for the R match. T62A finding that E5. They're going to focus down this T62 or this object 140 right here. If they've pushed in, there's nowhere for him to go. The rest of the tanks are trying to get in here to get on top of these R7 tanks. Still a slight HP lead in favor of R7. Ammo rack going out there onto one of the tanks of Villian. He was a one-shotter though, so don't think that was going to impact the battle all that much, though it is really cool to watch. 215B is going to focus down this last E5, and now these heavy tanks are all free again. They've gotten back to about a 2,000 HP lead. There's the Bat Chat in Zombie Food's full HP, and up north, looks like he's probably still loading right now. Artillery shell coming out, hitting that object 140 for another 700. Where's Captain NA is down to a one-shotter. Tesla's down to a one-shotter. These heavy tanks are just going to push around and clean up these two mediums, and then they go back to deal with that Bat Chat in the last. They're just going to eat the HP. They know they have the slight lead. T62A, despite being a one-shotter, found a shot on that E5 or on that object 140, took him out. And now one of the E5s is going to go deal with his Bat Chat. Now R7 need to be careful here because Villian can still clean this up. This E5 is going to push onto this object 140 as a one-shotter, and they're going to find him. But this Bat Chat's just sitting here, getting off free damage. And R7 only have 3 tanks left alive, or they have 4 tanks left alive, including the Arty. Villian have 3, one of them's a one-shotter, and now they only have 2. But this Bat Chat and the artillery can do quite a lot, considering there's only 3k HP left on the field for R7. One solid artillery shot out of their M53-55 for around 1,000, and Zombie can clean all this up with roughly 1 clip. Can't make all shots count, but Zombie should have the quality to make that happen. 215B at 1,300 is just going to push over. He's going to try to find Zombie. There's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Zombie Food's going to go push up. Artillery is sitting here waiting for the shotgun. I don't know if Zombie knows he's right there. He's going to peek up over this hill. It's going to depend on how quickly this artillery can get the shot off and how soon it's going to take Zombie to realize he's there. He's going to come over. He's going to see him. And the shotgun goes out for 800. Doesn't get the kill. Zombie scruffing a shot there into the dirt and gets the kill. So Zombie's down to a one-shot, probably on a reload right now. And there are tanks for R7 closing from both directions. 215B is going to close from south. He's lining up the shot. He knows he's stuck up here. He knows he's going to get out. Zombie's going to make the run. 215B is going to line up the shot, land it. And that pretty much secured second victory for R7. Only down to this M53-55.
Oh, right. It's not over. Let me go...
So, once again, the Conqueror gun carriage coming through huge for R7. I'm really curious to see what his final damage numbers were, because there was shots coming out of him left and right. I felt like every time that Conqueror was loaded, which has a 40-second reload, but pretty much every time he was loaded, he was already aimed in a position to land an effective shot. Constantly just bailing his side out of tough positions. At one point when those E5s were pushing into those mediums, they had a lot more guns there and they had the HP over those heavies, but that arty shell landed, hit him for 1,400, and really helped him out. M53-55 missing the shotgun onto the E5.
Did the E5 just bounce him?
No, he hit him. He didn't kill him though. He only hit him for about 300 low roll.
No, he took a second shot, didn't he? That was
I
his
did not
third
see it
shot
if I
on
did.
time.
If he did, then he scruffed it. I missed that.
Yeah, I think that was bounce.
Wow. So let's see how much damage did this artillery get off this game, because I have a feeling it's going to be upwards of 4K again. So not quite 4K, but he did lead his team in damage at 3,700. Zombie Food just farming the damage all game, 4,700, 19 shots fired, 7 hits for 14 pens. So pretty good shooting for a bat chat. E5, 3,600 for R7. Another 628 at 3K. A lot of consistent damage, though R7 does surprisingly have several tanks low on overall damage. One of these E5s, two of these E5s getting shot 11 times, and a third one getting hit a 10th time. So, putting them in hold down spots, they were making their armor work. Those Russian mediums of Villian couldn't get consistent penetrations on them. And, R7 definitely punished Villian for not being consistent with their shooting. That Gun Conqueror, though, I mean, how many shots did he get off this game? He got off another 5 shots this game, 3 direct hits, 4 splashes for 3,700 total. And that includes that 800 damage shotgun at the end there. So far, showing his worth in that Gun Conqueror. We'll have to see if R7 bring it again. So scores 2-0 in favor of R7. I was just reading chat, guys. I know this is slightly delayed. I don't know if you know Spanish, but you actually have the wrong colors on right now. You're showing Villian as red. You have the scoreboard as red as R7 at the moment. So slightly backwards. We'll fix that when we can, folks. Sorry about that. But it is R7 that is up 2-0 right now. We'll be going into battle number 3. I think R7 got the early rounds here. I think that Villian can definitely get some wins here. I don't think this is going to turn into a lopsided match. I think Villian take 1, if not 2 of these right now and re-even this out. So under 25 seconds here. Any thoughts on that battle, Spanish?
The scoreboard should be fixed now, and I'm actually curious to see if R7 is going to end up going as heavy as they went their last defense. Because I think they were all heavy plus 1 artillery, right? They had 6 215Bs and the rest E5s.
Yeah, pretty much. They brought two T62As, but for the most part they went heavy, and they were fine with that. So now we're on to the other side, and some pretty dramatic lineup changes coming out of both teams here. Oh my! So R7 bringing out the cheese. 4 50Bs, 5 T110 E5s, a Bat Chat, an Object 140, a T62A, and 2 Conqueror gun carriages. So them deciding that one was working for them so well, let's bring a second. Why not? Meanwhile, Villian, 5 T110 E5s. No, I can't even count. Jesus, that's 8 T110 E5s, 4 Object 140s, a T110 E3 again, and an M53 55.
Not even close. 5?
Oh, no, I looked at that and my eyes got all cross-eyed there for a second and totally miscounted that. No excuse there. Oh, dyslexia at its finest. Alrighty.
I don't know if that's dyslexia, but continue.
General retardation, not being able to count. I'm gonna go back to
Let's go with all
and count
those
again. Yeah, pick one. I don't care. I've heard them all. All right, so Villian going up here. They're taking north again. They're actually not going to take the straight north, though. They're not going to go up to the Alpha line. They're just going to give it to them. They're going to put their arty up there, and they're going to pray that nothing gets by them. I don't know if this is generally super wise. It doesn't look like R7's going to push, so it's not going to matter. I'd be concerned about his life if R7 was playing hard north. He would need to understand that north push was coming and get out of there quickly, because where he's sitting right now, he's pretty exposed to that A6 gap there. So most of the E5s and a bunch of the Russian mediums are sitting here in this bowl again over at D7. This is an extremely strong spot. I don't think you'll ever see a team not on defense not have tanks here. You have instant control of the 2 cap, and you have good shots onto the south cap. And Artie, once again, I don't know if that was Artie or an ammo rack. I missed that. I thought it was Artie because the tank died that soon.
That was an E5.
Your E5 got the kill, but I don't know who did most of the damage. But major trouble, my good friend, going down there in that object 140 right off the bat. So, plan not going as intended. 2 of the E5s for Villian have actually gotten really aggressive here in the south. They're going to push down here into this bowl while a bunch of the other E5s push into this ravine here. This is a really strong crossfire for Villian, and they're taking really good south control. You know, these E5s being hold down are going to be pretty much impenetrable. Missed shot coming out from that E5 onto that 140 that's trying to get away. He's down to about half HP. Villian pretty easily winning... I wouldn't say pretty easily winning these early HP trades with losing a full tank, but R-7 have 4 different tanks damaged. They're down by about 2.5k on HP. Meanwhile, as I say that, an E5 goes down for R7, and that was from artillery, and I'm relatively sure that was close to a one-shot because they lost 2k HP in one go. So, once again, I was looking at the other side of the map. I was looking at the south push, and already going big there. So, Villian just kind of holding in the north. They've actually flexed their mediums out of this bowl. They had all their tanks here in this bowl, and they're going to flex them up north, and they're going to push them across to A6, A7's my guess, and they're going to open up side shots on these E5s of R7. And if they're not careful, they're going to get focused out here because these E5s can just push over, and R7's guns are too split all over the map. The 50Bs are rotating down to the keel line to deal with these E5s that have pushed. The E5s in the middle, though, are going to have shots once they get lit. 50B's getting some good shots onto these E5s in the middle here. E5's trying to play the hold down, not exactly making it work. And another E5 goes down for Villian, so R7 has a 2-tank lead. And just like I thought, these BDMs are going to push across here. They got a good crossfire going on these E5s, and a lot of these guns can't really help them. I don't know if Villian realizes that yet, but as soon as they do, Villian's certainly just going to push all these E5s over on his overmatch because these tanks are so far down the south. They can't support them. They're straight up out of draw range. It's not that they can't see them. They only have 1 or 2 tanks sitting here on base that are within draw range that can do damage. And if Villian just want to take these tanks down and take a 3-tank lead right out of the bat, they're going to do it. And finally, these mediums are going to go ahead and push over. Artillery shot coming through there, splashing but not connecting solidly. The E5s are going to get real aggressive on this corner. They're going to try to focus these guys down. R7 doing their best to rotate out HP. They've backed that E5 up into the back corner there. Meanwhile, in the south, the 50Bs, or the Object 140s and 150Bs are pushing on these E5s. They have a 4-on-2 overmatch. R7's pushing with a lot of low HP tanks, though, so we'll see if they can make it work. They get 1 kill down south. It's just down to Zombie Food in this E5. They have 4 on him. Even a player of that quality, that caliber, is not going to withstand that. He's surely going to go down here in a minute. Meanwhile, the E5s back in the north have cleaned up 2 more of the E5s, and they're about to finish the 3rd. The mediums are going to go ahead and spread out, try to take back towards the 1 cap and make sure that they have that secure. But but Villian are just down on tanks. It's 6-2, so they have a 2-tank lead, and R7 are up by about 2k on HP right now. Artillery shot coming out again, not connecting. So 2 artillery for R7, and neither of them are really carrying their weight right now. They need to start connecting those shots. E5 gets caught out in the open by that 50B of Mufasa and takes him down. And these E5s are going to take control of this south ridge again. They're going to leave a couple tanks up north to cover them, and they're just going to get these E5s right into the face here. They're going to have good shots down south on these 50Bs and these Russian mediums that are trying to get over towards this 1 cap. The only problem is they're going to be super exposed to these arties in base. They're giving them straight side shots right now. And with those 2 Conquerors, it's only a matter of time before they're loaded and they get shots out. I'd expect them to be coming in at these E5s here relatively soon. One of the E5s for Villian getting shot at, bouncing a couple. Artillery shot going out there, finally into the E3 for 700. Base 50B sitting there is reloaded. He's firing out shots at this E5. The other Conqueror fires for another 800. So LZ taking close to 1,600 damage from 2 artillery shots there, and he's just down to a 1-shot. Meanwhile, the couple mediums that are left for Villian are going to go ahead and push down this 0 line. They're going to try to find this overmatch. It's going to be a super even fight right here. Who wins this south flank is probably going to decide this battle. If Villian can pull this off, they can still pull out this victory pretty easily. Whereas Captain Nene is getting focused, but it's relatively even on HP. But they have 2 300 tanks and a 600. Avenge is going to push around. Worst Captain's going to come around. Avenge is going to go down. Missing the shot onto Worst Captain. He needs to find that one-shotter. He's going to back up just to not lose HP. Getting the bounce, but him bouncing a shot in return. Meanwhile, all the tanks in the middle got overrun. And as much as this little skirmish between these four mediums could have decided and helped out here, R-7 knew that that was going to open up a lot of things, and so they didn't even wait for it. They pushed the middle and took what little advantage they had and managed to capitalize on it. And it's just down to the M53-55 for Villain. So I think what happened there is R-7 read that if those two mediums did get out south, they were going to be in a world of hurt because they had all those tanks on the south end of that ravine there, and there wouldn't be a whole lot they could do to respond to it. And so they just decided, let's push. We do have a minor HP lead right now. Let's just gamble on it. And they pushed on it while we were looking at those mediums, or at least I was. I don't know where the camera was. But they pushed over and cleaned out those middle tanks, and we're fine with it. So that way, even if those tanks on the zero line lost, they were still going to be in a dominant position and still have a lead, and they weren't going to have to deal with those mediums shooting them in the rear. So a third decisive victory going out there for R7. It is 3-0 right now. Thoughts on that game's finish?
Well, it's not necessarily pertinent to the what actually happened, but I think what I have to say first is that Pro Hacker OP had 1337 HP for a little while there, and I'm calling Illuminati. You can't have a hacker and 1337 in the same sentence.
Okay.
Aside from that, pretty drastic, I guess you would say, not meta from what I've seen so far of Sand River in terms of the attack defense mode on the clan leagues. Haven't seen a whole lot of 50Bs. They apparently did pretty well. Two of them pulling basically top damage for their team.
Yeah, no, they definitely were pretty effective there with that south flank. That's where some of them were sitting in base a little bit early on, but once they realized that Villain pushed those E5s isolated down the south, and they kind of had those ones in the middle that were supposed to support them pinned, they flexed those 50Bs, and the 50Bs are fast enough they can get around a map that's as open and as wide as this pretty easily. And they got in there and they cleaned up those two E5s with a couple Russian mediums, and they just drove back to their base again and just looked for shots. Those are where 50Bs are great, is in those flex positions where they're playing that second line support role and they're just allowed to drive all over the map and just find shots. That's where those 50Bs will do the best. So, coming through huge there. The artillery, after having two large games for R7 not coming through here this round,
I mean, you can't say that 2100 damage is not coming through.
and compared to the 4.5K and 3.7 that they did previous, you would expect them, at least two of them, to be able to put up that much, and they barely got 3K HP out of two Conquerors there, so just not being allowed to land their shots, 2100 isn't bad, but
I think two artillery pieces was a little bit overkill, especially when you have 450Bs on the map. I mean, you're expecting to outdamage your opponent in burst anyway, so there's a lot less damage on the table for your artillery to pick up anyway, because you're pretty much guaranteeing that four of your tanks are going to get a clip, and let's say they miss one shot each, that's still, what, 4,600 damage off the table?
Yeah, no, exactly. Can't argue with that. So, on to battle number 4 here. Villain really needs a win to give themselves a chance at all, or they're going to be going in 4-0 down onto Siegfried line, which, from what I have seen of that map, is not easy to attack. So, we will have to see. So, R7, 3 215Bs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 T110E5s, a Bat Chat, 2 T62As, and a Conqueror GC. Meanwhile, R7 going, or not R7, Villain going with 6 T110E5s and 7 Object 140s and a Conqueror GC of their own. So finally dropping that M5355 and going with the Conqueror. I was not too concerned with the M5355. It has a better gun traverse so it doesn't have to move as much to hit anywhere on the map. It has a better range than the Conqueror and a faster reload. So for a map like this, for shooting at mediums, I don't feel it was a terrible choice. But after seeing the Conqueror GC of R-7 consistently put up big numbers, maybe they decided to adapt a little bit there. So R-7's going with very similar to what they did before. They've stayed very heavy. Their 215Bs are just sitting here in this pocket by base at E0. A lot of their E5s are pushing up north. Keep eyes up there. And it's just a couple mediums here pushing around this bowl, keeping eyes on R7 for Villian, trying to find out where they are. Only a matter of time here. Artie should be loaded and aimed at this point. I'm expecting a shot to come out here towards these E5s here momentarily. And there comes the shot right towards them. Splashes for 300. So nothing too major. A good start, though. R7 starting up on HP by about 1,000. Probably closer, I take it back, closer to 2K, but they've already lost a couple hits, so, closer to 1,000 now. Meanwhile, R7, our Villain's going with a much more decisive push this time, and they're just going to try to bully out R7 away from this one gap. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll have to see. A couple of the mediums for Villian pushing hard into the 0 line here. A couple E5 sitting here on cap. Good trades going out so far towards these tanks of R7. Artillery shot coming out there, splashing 2 of them for about 1,000 total. Meanwhile, R7, or Villian, consistently finding shots on these 215Bs. They're bleeding a lot of HP right now. And, it seems that R7 have gotten back to about a 2K HP lead, 1,300 right now. We'll have to see if they can keep chipping away. They were doing a good job until that Artie found a shot there. Another artillery shot coming out, landing for 500 on the south group. These 2 Russian mediums, backed by only a couple E5s in the south, are holding up a whole lot of tanks for R7 right now. Villian recognizing that the R7 mediums are pushing the alpha line, and they're in a vulnerable position, so they backed up around the corner while these E5s, trying to keep these E5s lit. They're trying to find some damage. E5s in the middle here doing their best to cover them, but I don't know how long those mediums have to live. If I was them, I'd be trying to get them out of there right now. Keep them alive to fight another day, because it's only a matter of time before they go down where they are right now. Multiple shots connecting to Unavenged. He's getting dropped to about 1,000. Worst Captain NA down to about 1,400, so they're bleeding a lot of HP there. And R7 has all of a sudden expanded their HP lead by about another 2,000, so they're up to about a 4K, about 2,500, 3K-ish HP lead. It's kind of going back and forth right now. And just like that Object 140 going down for Villian. So just like I said, in a very vulnerable position, it was only a matter of time before they lost them. And I don't know that their eyes in this exact position is worth losing 2 tanks over. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Worst Captain NA is just trying to play hold down. He's backed up to another ridge. E5s are all trying to help him. But Villian just kind of seem like they don't have any answers right now. They're still down by about 2.5K on HP. A lot of the main tanks they were looking at to do stuff for them, to push, to find the eyes, are just bleeding HP left and right. And R7's just consistently finding damage onto him. As I say that, though, Conqueror GC for Villian finding a nice shot for about 1,000 on this 0 line group. Consistent shot there, and it looks like R7 are going to make this push south, or make this push across the alpha line up here in the north by their base. And this may not work out for R7, because little do they know there's 3 Russian mediums making this flex right now, so it's going to be a 3-on-2 overmatch. And I don't know how quickly these E5s can get in here into this fight. R7 just bleeding HP. What little HP they had is now gone. The Villian are back up by about 2.5K, so just like that, about a 4,000 damage HP swing in favor of Villian. So Villian, just as I thought, they didn't have any answers, doing a great job to claw back into this. Losing a tank in the process, but they're going to take out another Russian medium. And now it's a 2-on-2 left here in this base, and this is going to decide a lot. Meanwhile, the R7 tanks are going to take this moment to push, and they're going to try to get on top of these Villian tanks over here in the base. R7 cleaning up one tank. They're going to clean up this other 140, and R7 are going to clean this up. But in the process, they lost a ton of HP, and they're down by about 4K right now. So these R7 tanks are doing what they can over here by the 1-cap to dominate on all these guns being turned for Villian, but just not making it happen. Villian's closing in like a pack of sharks right now. They know these tanks are all low HP. None of them have much HP left. They're just going to focus out. They're going to push over just like R7 did to them before. They're going to push over onto this E5. They're going to find him. He's down to a one-shot. His buddy that's the 215B sitting right next to him is also a one-shot. He's going to look for a shot and bounce, and the E5 is going to clean him up. And all of a sudden, it's a 3-9 lead in favor of Villian. R-7 only having 5K left on the field right now. Artillery shot coming out, landing short, not connecting for Villian. And just like that, when Villian seemed out of answers, nice artillery shot coming out here for R-7, and they pick off another tank of Villian, but they still got a 4-tank advantage on them, and they still have about 7,000 damage in an HP lead right now. Only a matter of time. The tanks are just driving around. I have a feeling that Zombie Food just told Villian to pub it at this point and just clean this up, and he's not actually coordinating anything, because you can kind of tell when a caller's micromanaging or not. All the tanks right now for Villian are just kind of driving around, doing their own thing, looking for damage. They're just taking it easy, cleaning it up. They're not worried. So this E5 is going to be next. Meanwhile, Villian are just going to put 2 on cap just for the giggles, just to guarantee the win. Artillery shot coming out here, hitting the wrong corner of cap. R7 or Villian no longer have tanks there on that part of the cap.
They can't reset now.
They can't reset. This E5 is going to get isolated. He's tracked. He's not going to go anywhere. 20 seconds left on the cap. Conqueror can't fire again for about another 20 seconds, so he's not even going to have a shot. He's just going to try to stay alive, deny the kill to Villian. But just like that, Villian gave themselves a lifeline now. They got one win here. On attack on Sand River, which is not an easy thing to do, especially for the amount of HP that R7 brought this game.
So I do have to point out to you here that you said that they were hunting like a pack of sharks, and I'm not a marine biologist, but I'm fairly certain that sharks are not pack animals and they hunt on their own.
When there is blood in the water, I don't think they really care who's around them.
That's true. Okay. All right. You've clarified.
A pack of wolves. Let's go with that. All right. You like that better?
I like that. I like pack of wolves better.
All right. Alrighty, guys. So not a whole lot of downtime. Being a lot better fights than we're used to. Taking a lot longer time. You know, both teams doing a really good job at drawing out the matches when they're on defense. Using the whole clock. So we only got 5 minutes till the next battle, which is really nice. Not having to sit here and take a 10-minute break waiting for the next battle to start. So we are on to Siegfried line. Score is 3-1 in favor of Villian. Villian picking up that last round there. R7, that's not really what I'm used to seeing on Sand River. I'm used to seeing a lot of teams play it a lot lighter. Having some E5s, to play the heavy role, but teams going with a lot more light tanks or medium tanks in general. And flexing around the map. And R7 is just saying, no, we're just going to sit here. You can come try to break us, and you can push into our guns, but we're not going to give it to you for free. And Villian just seemed to struggle to find answers for it. During that last round, I even questioned if they had a way out of it. I didn't think there really was a good answer. I was certainly struggling to see a good way for Villian out of that. They managed to find it, mostly because I think R7 overexpanded for their game plan. They pushed those mediums up north into the base where Villian had more guns, and it was from that point on that they threw away so much HP.
Villian actually lost that part of the fight. They went in 3v2 and lost that fight because the bat chat there clipped out. But they also gained a whole bunch of intel from that, and that's important to note there. They had an E5 in the south involved in that fight.
Well, exactly. What happened, what I'm trying to get at is R7 pushed that base, and they originally pushed with fewer tanks than Villian had sitting there. They didn't know it. And once they realized that Villian had a ton of tanks there, R7 overreacted more tanks to help win that fight. And they ended up winning it, correct. But in the process of doing that, they pulled away a ton of the guns from the rest of the battle.
Right.
And that's where Villian, they realized that they had that overmatch then, and they exploited it, and they pushed in and cleaned up a lot of those heavy tanks, and they gave themselves, that opportunity back in the match. Villian were down on HP going into that whole series, or in that whole battle, until that moment. And then just like that, they cleaned up 3 tanks, and they took a huge HP lead, and R7 just could not recover from it. So
that's something that we've brought up in the past before too. It's with weighing choices and decisions, and treating game time decisions kind of like a currency in such a way that information is vital, tank HP is vital, all these different variables are vital to a fight, and you don't realize that the calculation was happening there, but Villian was saying, here, you could take these 3 tanks if you want to have the overmatch. We're going to have the overmatch, but if you want to get more tanks there and take those 3, we're going to take your big group. We're going to take all of those tanks in exchange for it. So they're divvying up their chips. We're either going to win this fight, or you're going to have to commit to it, and we're going to push in elsewhere.
Yeah,
we'll lose those 3.
It was a win-win for Villian. I mean, they were either going to have the overmatch in the north, and they were going to win the tanks there, or they were not going to have that overmatch, and they were going to take the overmatch elsewhere. So, they really well worked by Villian. I didn't see it. It definitely worked out for them, and they took a huge HP lead, which is why they're here playing this, and I'm not. So, good, really good eyes out of, I'm assuming a zombie food calling for them, or a worse captain. It's one of the two. Really good eyes out there, really good read, and can't really say too much about that past what we've already said. So, R-7 though, despite that round, a 2-game lead, up 3-1 over Villian is no small test though. They're definitely showing they belong here and they can play with the big boys. Villian being one of the longtime powerhouses of Clan Wars in general. So they're definitely making them work.
The conch, that's the first time that it did less than 2k damage in a battle. For not 07.
For
R7.
R7, yeah. 07. Oh boy. Yeah, no, and just the same, the Conqueror finally coming through huge for
either way,
Villian.
A pretty good team to be compared to, apparently. Either 07 or R7. I would like both of those comparisons, I think.
Yeah, at this point. So going over the damage breakdowns, we have just 1 more minute till this next battle starts. The Conqueror coming in at second place for Villian, putting up 3,500. So that was the first game where Villian's already really made a difference in that game, I feel. Previously, the M53-55, which I felt was the stronger arty choice for the map, not doing as much damage, but apparently Conqueror gun carriage is just that much more overpowered, and they made it work there. Meanwhile, Major Trouble coming in at 4,500 damage this game, making up for the almost goose egg he dropped the round before. Let's see, was it a goose egg out of him before? I'm checking right now. Yeah, Major Trouble dropped a goose egg the battle before, so deciding that he had to make up for that. Whether I don't know how much he had in that position.
They were telling him clutch or cut.
Yeah, pretty much. So on to battle number 5. It is 3-1 in favor of R7, and we're on the Siegfried line. And if I had to guess based on these lineups, I'd say R7's defending first, but we'll find out when I load.
It would appear that R7 is not.
R7 is attacking, which is really interesting for this lineup choice. R7 will attacking, bringing 5 E100s, 5 T110 E5s, 3 Object 140s, and a T110 E4, so no arty for R7 in this game. Meanwhile, Villian going with a much lighter lineup. Even though they're on defense, they're staying pretty light. They're bringing only 1 E100, 2 215Bs, 5 T110 E5s, a Bat Chat, 4 Object 140s, and a Conqueror GC. So Villian bringing in an arty on defense on Siegfried. Now, for my Clan Wars days, give me one moment here. The way I'm used to playing this map in the South, your best play is typically closer to the 890. Playing really aggressive out of there, taking map control, which would kind of work with this middle cap here. Now, Villian are already reading this lineup for R7. They recognize they have all this weight, and they know that R7 are not even going to try for this 1 cap. They are stacking all their tanks overwatching this 2 cap. And this could become a bloodbath very quickly. So R7 Villian just getting their guns into great positions early. I worry about them being overexposed a little bit. These 2 215Bs sitting here in Echo 6. If these E100s come around this corner and Villian realize that those 2 are alone, they could get pushed on really easily, and the guns are not in position to really help. All these guns from Villian are just lining up here along this top ridge here. Already shot going out, but missing. But Villian just sitting up here, they're not even trying to play hold down. All their guns are just sitting here on this ridge, just aimed at these 2 corners that R7 are going to be coming around. The 0 line and this other gap over here at the 8 line. you know, just blatant disrespect. Just sitting here on top of this ridge, not a care in the world, all their guns, looking down, trying to find shots. And so far, it's working for Villian, not taking any damage. They've damaged a couple tanks. They chipped off about 1,000 off one of the U100s. And this is where I worry about these 215s. Now that Villian has denied the zero line area to R7, which I was just talking about, it's, being a favorite of a lot of teams to play out of. Now they're shifting their tanks over here towards this 4-5 line. And these 215Bs only have the support of these two T110 E5s in here. If R7 weren't taking the long way right now, which I'm not exactly sure why they're going all the way down there, maybe they just don't want to give up the HP to cross. They're wasting a ton of time doing this, though. It's going to be a minute and a half before they even get in position. It looks like R7 are just going to go for the one cap, even though they're not in the position. And I don't think this is going to work really well either, because Villian have all these mediums sitting up here, and while they're not in position now, it'll only take them about 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds to flex across the map, get out to this 1-2 line, and have clean shots on this cap. There's no cover on this cap at all. There's one little depression you can get behind, but the second you have someone out in the north end of that 2-3 line, it's not even enough cover to defend him. This 2-1-5 is going to push out here. He's going to get around this corner. The other 2-1-5 shifting, and now a lot of the tanks are finally starting to shift for Villian. They're kind of coming in, but R7 already have tanks on cap. An artillery shot coming out for Villian, smacking Tech in that E5 for 2k. He's only alive with 15 HP right now. Really lucky stuff there. R7 just going to go for the cap, and this is really clever out of R7. I didn't see this. They're pushing their E100s in position to screen. If they can get this 2-1-5, it's going to be really hard for Villian to get the resets here. Villian choosing to go with the opposite flank. They're pushing all their mediums down the zero line. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if they have the time. But R7 are just going to say, no, we know the tanks are down there. We're going to go with the overmatch. The 1-2 on 10E4 and base spotted these mediums. And just like we were talking about earlier, R7 realized they had an overmatch elsewhere. Where they don't have an overmatch in one place, they have it in another. And they're just exploiting it. Two tanks down.
They haven't seen this bat chat yet. They're cycling around him. How has he not been lit? Out in D3. They literally just drove past him.
All these mediums, I completely missed it. All these mediums, 3 different mediums looking across this field, all of them getting lit, missing that bat chat. Now, it's pretty much even on HP. R7's up, or Villian's up by about 1,000, 1,500. And Villian or R7 are definitely in a slightly stronger position as far as I'm concerned at this point. These mediums are still down south, not really getting their guns into the fight. An ammo rack going off onto one of the E5s of R7, giving them a little bit larger lead. Now the mediums are going to flex in here. They're going to clean up this cap, and it looks like Villian actually are going to clean this up. They got this. They just have one object 140 left on cap. And it looks like this bat chat finally getting into the fight, deciding enough's enough. I want some damage now. He's getting focused, though. He's down to 1,000. But now Villian have gotten all their guns back into the fight. And they're going to clean this up. There's only 3 tanks for R7 left alive in this town. The rest are in the field here. All of them getting hunted. A couple of these mediums are trying to find this 140 of R7. Meanwhile, these E5s are trying to clean up these heavy tanks in the town. And Villian have taken, just like that, about a 4,000 HP lead. E5's down to a one-shot. That 140 is still being hunted. This E5 somehow still full HP. I'm going to kill his opposite here. He's backing up, looking for some separation, looking to line up a shot. Finally lands it. He's going to turn around. But it's only a matter of time before he gets melted. He's tracked sideways, not even going to be able to get his armor towards the guns. And Villian just like that, cleaning that up, and it's all down to this 140 who's just going to YOLO in. He's not even going to try, getting called up on the rock there. They're just going to say, this is over, kill me, let me get out of here. And he gets ammo racked. Insult to injury, yep.
I have to say it, MVP bat chat. Just, I can't fathom how he was not lit there. They drove, like, they must have just been outside the 50-meter proc spot, because that was so ridiculous. Like, I don't even know where to begin with that. I'm sure he didn't do much damage, because, yeah, he was hiding in a bush the entire time, but 2 kills
Yeah, no. I've used that bush before in regular strongholds. I've actually used it in pub matches to get some of my spotting missions done because it's a very large bush with a ton of camo value, and when you put a scout tank in there, it's a really obvious bush, but a lot of people, it's in the middle of a field, and a lot of people don't want to go near it because they know how exposed they'll be to the rest of the guns. And so, you know, I'm not really quite sure how R-7 didn't think to look there. It's a really obvious bush. If you notice, it's just
Yeah.
one bush in the middle of an open
Yep.
field. They know they're being lit, and there's only so many places you can be lit from that area. So by process of elimination, you should be able to figure out which bush they're in.
Not only that,
Or
they
that.
had all static fire tanks. It's not like they were all auto loaders and didn't want to waste shots blind fire. They had the opportunities to just blind fire the crap out of every bush they saw. Never did.
Yep. So looking at it, the dog beast in this bat chat, well, only doing 3k damage in 5 shots.
300.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah, 3k or 300 damage with 5 shots. That's a little bit concerning. But what's funny to look at is 7 tanks spotted, 2,000 assistance damage, and he lived through that battle. So not really his job to do damage. When he is dealing damage,
He also
shooting,
reset 90. He reset 92 cap points.
No,
So
he held. That's why he wasn't firing once they drove past him. Why he didn't try to clip out a tank. He was just sitting there, looking to clean up the cap. He was the emergency base reset if Artie and the other tanks didn't come through. I didn't really think about that till now.
right.
But very very clever out of VILIN, and VILIN pulling it back. It's a 3-2 lead in favor of R-7, but VILIN have the momentum right now with 2 straight.
But they are going into an attack, and this map is very tough to attack on.
Yeah, no, this VILIN. I was kind of not concerned, but questioning, I guess, VILIN's setup there. And once R-7 made that flex out to the 1 cap, VILIN's response was not what I'm used to seeing. I'm used to seeing a flood of tanks flooding the north, making sure they get the base resets, and just getting out there. And they instead took let's just worry about getting the kills. We're going to leave only 1 or 2 tanks to get the resets, leaving that bat there, the spot for the RD, and hopefully a couple of the heavy tanks sneaking in some reset shots. A little bit risky game there out of VILIN. It worked out in the end, but I don't know if that's something I'd rely on every single time, because that's one of those things that could go wrong very easily. So we'll have to see. So,
I see that Foster Kid is making fun of me in chat for saying 07.
Yeah, I just noticed that too. That's just a quick note before I go over the tank lineups. We're at 90 viewers right now. I am relatively certain not all of you are following our channel or follow our Twitch or our Twitter or YouTube. So please take a moment, give us a follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel for replays. It helps out a lot. I'm having a real pleasure bringing you guys these matches. Hopefully you guys are enjoying my casting, even though I'm butchering half the names. So yeah, do what you can. Now into the fight. R-7, 250Bs, 4 E100s, a 215B, an IS-4, an E5, a Bat Chat, 2 Object 140s, a T-62A, and a Conquer. Meanwhile, VILIN going with a blatant 1-2 line push right off the bat. I'm wondering how long it's going to take R-7 to recognize this. Bringing a 215B, 3 IS-7s, a 57, 5 Object 140s, 3 T-62As, and a Object 261. Now, VILIN aren't going to stop this train. This whole pack of mediums, 10 plus mediums, are just going to push through here. This Bat Chat is going to get focused by all these guns. 1 shot from all of them, and he's done. A couple missed shots going out here. He's going to get a couple shots off, but he's going to be focused before too much longer. Just not even stopping. Great execution of a push there out of VILIN. They're going to push in. They're going to find these other mediums. 600, 300, another shot going out there, and another kill. So VILIN already taken a 2 tank lead, and they have 3 on. Well, they got 3 on cap with 27 seconds left, and R-7 are going to have to essentially just YOLO a tank to guarantee the resets. Now these tanks from VILIN need to stop here. They need to turn to support these heavy tanks. So all these E5s are going to place. The 57 rifling off shots from the south onto this E100, And E100 going in to make sure he gets the reset. He's going to get shot at, and now all the mediums are going to focus on these heavy tanks right here. They're not going to care about the rest. This E100 getting focused. He's going to drop HP in favor by about 3k to Villain. E5's getting focused. He's being evaporated. E5 getting focused out. Just so many guns coming in. Tanks just melting away for R7. Textbook focus fire out of Villain. Now Villain just need to clean it up. Their mediums need to clean up. This Object 140 is pushing into the field. He's just pushing in for lights, and he's letting these guns up north get some shots on these mediums. And if they're not careful, they only have about a 3k damage lead, so this game's not over yet. So Villain just needs to go into cleanup mode, and they need to knock guns out of the fight quickly. They're taking out the eyes, getting that 140 down. This 57's playing Ring Around the Rosie with his IS-4, trying to make it hard for him to get shots onto him. 57 going to shoot past the IS-4, take down that E100, the last E100 for R7. Meanwhile, these two IS-7s are just going to sit here on cap. They don't have the HP to push out. Already coming out, hitting that IS-4 for 1,300. 57 only has a couple shells left. He's going to look for a shot. He's going to decide not to take it, seeing the two guns already trained at him. And now the mediums are just going to flex in. They're going to kill a 62A up north. They're going to try to find this artillery. HP, a rare thing for R7 right now. IS-4 getting focused. These two tanks in the middle, SU-100 and 50B, are both one-shots. This last 50B over here in town of Techno is the only HP, really, that R7 have left. 50B getting focused. A 38 HP E100 bounces a couple shots here. How he's still alive at this point, I don't know. 50B is just going to yellow in here. He's just going to try to find the resets, clip some stuff out, and run away. He's going to get focused. He's going to throw up all his HP. Loses 500. He gets focused.
Did he even get a reset? I don't think he did.
No, didn't. Well, I think he got one reset on the first shot, but scruffed the two after that. Just wow. Nothing mind-blowing strat-wise out of Villain. That's very similar to how I've seen other people call Siegfried line in public team battles. Flexing the light forces out wide, putting a tank on for cap, baiting stuff in. I'm just surprised that R7 fell for it. They took a long time to rotate a lot of their tanks. They left, 4 tanks in the field to easily get overmatched with no support. Just not a big fan of the setup out of R7 there. They left so many tanks, they left their tanks split across the map. They left half their tanks essentially watching the 2 cap and half their tanks watching the 1 cap. And R7 just exploited, or not R7, Villain just exploited it. They took all their tanks together and they just pushed on one side and just went for it, and it paid off well. And then, once those E100s pushed in, those mediums from Villain, just great focus fire across the board. Really cannot complain about it. Ajax in the T57 leading off for Villain there, doing 4k damage. Second place goes to the 3200 in the Object 261. Villain Lives Matter, decent shooting there. So pretty good stuff out of Villain. Really, really enjoyed watching that fight. Just watching those tanks melt for R7. It's such superb focus fire. You just saw shell after shell after shell rifle into the same tank. There was no questioning. There was no split fire. It was just absolute textbook focus fire. You can't really ask for better than that. So great stuff out of Villain there. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, they just took a plan and executed it. They shoved all of their mediums right down the face of R7 and made it kind of tough for them. Their heavy tanks were really out of position for R7. That was. They had to shift in for a while, and like you said, the split that R7 had, obviously, Villain had no idea that split was happening. But you have to commit defensively to one area, especially I feel like on this map. You commit to one area and you have something spot the other side of the map and you rotate towards it. Maybe 2 things on that side of the map for emergency resets or something along that line of thought. But not anything beyond that, I feel.
Right. So the series is tied 3-3 now. Villain have clawed back into this and they still have the momentum. They've taken 3 straight after R7 took the first 3. So 2 more rounds left for sure. If R7, I would put this in favor of Villain right now. They need 2 more rounds. And I would not be surprised if we see overtime right now. I think R7 can claw 1 more of the next 2 away from Villain. They've certainly shown the potential so far. But we'll have to see. I mean, if Villain play like that for these last 2 fights, R7 are going to have their hands full, and they're just not adapting very well to what Villain have prepared for this map. So going over the lineups, 3 E100s, an IS-7, 5 T110 E5s, 4 Object 140s, and a T62A coming from R7. Meanwhile, Villain bringing an E100, 2 215Bs, 5 E5s, a Bat Chat, 4 Object 140s, and a Conqueror gun carriage. So R7 still not bringing the Arty, Villain bringing Arty again. So R7 going with a bit more balanced lineup this time. Not bringing so much weight that they're stuck going town, and that once they have to, once town's denied and they have to push out to the 1-2 line, they're not so exposed. Villain just choosing not to change anything up. They're sending a whole bunch of the tanks to this ridge here. They're just going to sit on top in these bushes, not even going to go for cover. 1E5 is going to push through here, probably find some lights. 215Bs are going to push up isolated again. Only a couple tanks supporting them, and the 1 Bat Chat in that bush. Again, we will have to see how well that works this time for Villain. The downside to us streaming these matches is R7's bound to have people watching. And if he's there again, and hold that thought for a second, R7 just going to go with the 0-line push. This is more of a strat I'm used to. They're just going to push these Object 140s and the C62As just straight down here. They're going to get tucked in right here around Charlie 0. They're not going to push onto these tanks if they're smart. They're just going to sit here and hold this corner. Once they do this, they create a massive crossfire with the second push coming through for R7 of these E5s. They're just going to push across here, coming across this cap. And now look at these positions for R7. They have a lot of these tanks caught out. This E5 is going to get caught out. The Arty's going to get set on fire. He's going to die. And now these tanks are just going to scramble, and they're going to push forward into the town for Villain. Meanwhile, all these tanks from R7 are just going to find this free damage from these mediums just caught out in this field right now. The R7 heavies are going to push towards their mediums to complete this flank and get out of the town so these Villain tanks don't flank them. Meanwhile, these R7 tanks are just going to collapse in here. These 2 T110 are going to drop in a matter of seconds. One down to a one-shotter. He gets focused. Only a matter of time before Luck gets focused. A couple other mediums cleaning up this north flank for R7. They're trying to find this last Object 140. And it's just ring around the rosy at this point. Villain's trying to chase down this IS-7. The rest of the guns are going to push around and try to get on the back here. They're going to track this E5. He's going to get focused. Object 140 is going to go down. E5 is going to go down. A couple of them are going to find out this other E5, but not before that E5 can get the ammo rack onto that IS-7. Object 140 in major troubles, trying to run away here. All the guns from R7 are going to focus him down. He's going to get tracked. Another tank's going to go down for Villain. R7 have a 6,000 damage lead and are up 10-5. They just need to get the rest of their guns back into this fight before Villain claw back into this. C5 getting shot up. Sheep about to go down. But the guns finally come in for R7 from the other side of the map. They get shots off. They clean up that tank. They're going to try to find this E100. E100 is going to get a shot off here. It's only a matter of time before the rest of these tanks connect here. E100 is going to be the next to drop. And it's just down to this 215B and this Bat Chat for Villain. 215B goes down just like that. And it's only a matter of time before Dog Beast gets hunted here and executed. So, very similar to Villain as far as just taking a plan and just going with it, not caring where the other tanks are, just pushing into it, relying on focus fire, and that worked out beautifully for R7. That's very similar to what I was trying to talk about in the first game as far as the 0-line push. You bring in half your forces, you push that 0-line, you get tucked into that little cubby there, you don't even have to worry about pushing the ledge, and then the rest of the tanks come through the town slightly over to your left, closer to this 7-8 line, and all of a sudden you have a huge crossfire that, the other team's in. Now, I do like the response out of Villian there, but it was too little too late. They decided, all right, we're going to push one direction and try to kill some tanks. I think the biggest problem for Villian was they had too many tanks to split there. They had those two 15Bs, the Batchat out in the field, and they had the 50B and the 57 trying to support them over from that 5 line. But they didn't have shots into this main push where 11 or 12 of the tanks from R-7 were, and they got overmatched, and R-7 just executed it extremely fast.
So it's the same point defensively that we had said before with the separating of tanks. You really don't want to have too many tanks out of position there. You want to have tanks supporting each other. There were a couple of heavy tanks that were kind of nestled into the two cap, I think it is, side of the city, not where the capture point, like guarding the capture point for the two cap. I think you just leave that. You don't want that. You put those tanks farther back, and then if a team were to make a push down that 9-0 line, at least you have a couple of extra tanks ready for it. You're spotting that way before they get all the way down there. You're gonna have enough time to turn 0 in and shoot on tanks crossing, and you might not get kills from it, but you're going to even up damage trades from the tanks that are gonna have to get repositioned and that sort of thing. They allowed their tanks to get circled and flanked, and there wasn't much that could be done about it.
Yep. So R-7 finally taking round, and they are on match point right now. It is 4-3 in favor of R-7. If Villian win this, it's going to force an overtime match. The overtime match for tonight is back on Sand River, so a map we've already seen. But if R-7 pick this up, they take the series. They took the 3-1 lead on
And that was
line,
an
so
attack,
it's 2-2.
so they're on defense now.
Yeah, so my biggest thing about how it's set up on Siegfried is Siegfried, especially while defending, is so reliant on vision. It's set up kind of similarly to Lakeville in the sense that you need to know where the enemy is, because they can just make you drive back and forth consistently, and they can make you drive across a lot of their guns. Just there's a lot of real estate you have to cross. And if you don't have good vision and they take up a strong position on one side, it's going to be extremely hard to push into it late. And I just feel that Villian, they had that passive bat out there, but they just didn't have a whole lot of eyes there, and they committed too many tanks to one side of the map without much purpose. So we'll have to see if what they change here. So Villian back on offense, and they haven't really changed too much up from their last offense. They've gone with a 215B, 3 I-7s, a 57, 5 Object 140s, 3 262As, and back to that Object 261. Meanwhile, R-7 on defense, bringing 2 E100s, 6 T110E5s, a Batchat, 3 Object 140s, and a T62A. So one other thing I wanted to note while we're waiting for these teams to deploy, we're at 97 viewers, guys. 3 more and we break 100, which is awesome. And so please give us a follow the Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube. It's appreciated. Meanwhile, R-7 going with a much more, well, I don't want to say much more even split, but they're kind of doing the same thing again. Meanwhile, Villian are just going to flood all their mediums through the town right here, and if R-7 aren't careful, they're going to get overmatched. So Villian playing some mind games here. They show the same card. They think that, R-7 obviously shows, they try to set up for that one cap. They figure that Villian's going to go for the same thing. It worked so well last game, they're just going to go for it again. And so they figure they're going to shift a bunch of their tanks out towards that one cap. And Villian's just going to push through on the other side of the map. These mediums doing something very similar to what R-7 did. They're pushing around to this Charlie 0 corner here. They're going to be in a good position, and then a lot of the tanks are just going to push through the cap for Villian. A couple of heavy tanks are going to sit here on cap. They have the cap down to about 60%, 15 seconds left. The E5 that has the angle to get reset is going to get focused up. He's almost dead. Meanwhile, there's a whole brawl going on up north here, and it's not going well for Villian, losing tanks. R-7 have a lot of guns. They need to find the reset, though. They don't have a tank in position to reset. They get one little reset there, but this cap's still at 15, 12 seconds. The 62A is going to come in. He's going to fire. He's going to get focused down and probably killed before he can get the reset off. If he gets this reset, it all depends on him. Shot going out, and the cap gets reset back down to about 40 seconds. So even fight, 15 HP to both. 4-4. It's a super even brawl. Another tank goes down for R7, but R7 respawned. Now it's just a matter of how many guns can Villian kill quickly. Their fire's getting spread. This Object 140 is going to get down. It's a 6-7 lead. Villian having one extra gun on the field. HP still almost dead even. This Object 140 for R7 is going to get killed here in a second. Meanwhile, these 215Bs are going to focus on this E5 and try to get him down. Ammo rack going on to the 140 of R7. And now those 140s are freed a lot sooner than they should have been to kill some of this other stuff. It's 8-8, 7k each. It's neck to neck right now. Another kill going out on to R7. Villian coming up with it. But Villian are losing in HP right now. Villian's down to about 5k. Well, R7's still sitting up at 6.1. Not killing this E5 soon enough. They're finally focusing them down. They're going to get him. R7 still have the gun advantage, or Villian still have the gun advantage. Artillery shot coming out, getting the fire, but the auto fire extinguisher going off. It's only 2 more shots on the E5. He's going to drop. Villian's looking for it. The 140 is going to flank around right now. He's going to look for shots. R7 just going to try to play the cap. Yeah, he can get through there, but the 215B is looking for him. He doesn't have enough to kill him, though. He can eat the HP. That Object 140 has all the HP right now for R7. It's still almost dead even. It's 10-11 in favor of R7 HP. They have about 100 HP lead. It's 3,300 to 3,200. So neck to neck. It just depends if Villian can kill some of these guns quickly. I'm not a big fan of R7. What R7 is doing right now, they're kind of playing this slow, and this works into that Arty. If that Arty can land another shot, that Object 140 is going to be shootable. It's going to be a tight shot, but that Object 261s can shoot into that gap pretty easily. One tank is going to get focused down for R7. They're going to push around. They're going to try to find this E5. It's neck to neck. Arty shot comes off for a minor splash. They're trying to find this E5. He's down to 3%, 57 HP. 215B is going to try to shoot the Object 140. Both of these tanks are one-shotters. R7 take down the Object 140. The IS-7's looking for the E5. Object 140 takes down the 215B. It's down to 2-on-1. Object 140 on 226 HP. Villian have the IS-7 at 900, and they're just going to play Ring Around the Rosie. It's only a matter of time before this Arty's loaded again, and he fires off another shot. This 140 needs to try to get some separation, get unlit. He's got about 3 minutes and 40 seconds to work with, and he's a one-shot. And he's got to chip away at 900 HP, so he needs 3 solid shots. He needs to try to get behind this building. He's getting stuck on the building right there. And R7 haven't lit him, so the Arty's not looking for him right now. He's not lit. He's going to get out of there. He's going to make his way north. I don't think the Arty knows he's there. It doesn't look like he's adjusting his aim. So 60 on the cap. He's got 40 seconds. He needs to readjust, find a different angle to get the reset. And he used to play this real slowly. He can still do this. If Villian win this, it's going to force the overtime. It's going to go, one more round on Sand River, and R7 have to feel pretty good about their chances onto Sand River. Shot goes out. HE shell gets the four. Caps back down to 1:30, and the Arty shot comes out from downtown, and drills him, and drops him, and we are going to overtime. Wow. I don't think I stopped talking once in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was just pretty crazy.
Just back and forth. No teams holding anything back.
I have to question R7 there. Like you said, they were slow playing it, and then by the time that they finally came out of their turtle, they let in with their lowest hit point tank. That's like day one team play stuff. Like, tell your teammate to come out in front of you. He has HP. If they split shots on that, if they take one shot away, or if they shoot at the higher HP tank, they all live there. They all live through that first shot. They get an entire volley out as a team, and you might lose a tank after your first shot, but at least you get an extra shot out.
Yep. No, I agree. The 140 was pretty much full HP. I think he had lost like one shot of HP when it happened, and he tried to come around for the flank. I don't mind that so much early on. He's trying to look for some free damage, but he didn't find it, and he didn't push all the way through. If they were just going to push, which I agree that the push was the right play there, but they needed to execute it right. Get that 140 out in front, push him all the way around, make him draw the shells, get around there, use his HP. you are throwing away the HP, but they don't have enough alpha to kill them in one shot, and you buy a time for the rest of your tanks to come around that corner and get their shots off. And they could have easily focused down one of the tanks for Villain, and that 140 could have just kept driving and getting out of there, or for R7 could have gotten out of there,
Well,
and they could have cleaned that up. But
they could have also taking that direct of an angle. Like, he really pigeonholed himself into that little corridor. There's no room to dodge. There's no room to move. There's no room to make somebody miss a shot. You have to sit there. You can move back and forth, but you're an easy target inside of there. You can't be moving at a high speed. They know where you're coming from. They can block you in there, theoretically. If you just take the 10 seconds, there was plenty of time. There were 2 people on cap with 2 people for resets. There's no reason they should rush this situation here. If they took their time and had that 140 either double back towards their spawn or push D-light and push behind the attackers, because there was nothing spotting the back there, he could safely get in either behind them or get in a complete flank shot from that zero line area. There were so many different options that were far better than the decision making to go into that little crevice.
yeah, no, I agree. Definitely a misplay. So a lot of options there, and like you said, sitting there, that Object 261 is one of the more accurate arties. It doesn't always hit for the hardest, though the AP shells will definitely make you think twice about that. But when you sit there in that little gap, well, he has a limited shot. You only have a limited angle that you can shoot out of, and very easily he could, land a shot on there and take away all his HP. They needed to play fast, and they needed to get their HP out in front, and they needed to play smart, and they didn't really do either. I feel they took their time, and they didn't execute well once they did decide to execute. So definitely something that needs to be cleaned up there for R7. So tiebreaker battle is not up yet. So we have at least 10 minutes to kill. It is up to you, Spanish. You want to put up a splash screen, or do you want to sit here and talk for a few minutes?
I think a splash screen, give your voice a little bit of a break. We do have another match to cast.
Copy. All right. So we're going to put up a splash screen for about 10 minutes, folks. There's over 100 of you out there. I want to say it again just because I love all of you. Follow our Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe here. We're going to try to do at least 1 to 2 matches each week for the next couple weeks. We do have practice starting up for WGLNA season, so we need to start focusing on that. But we will stream some of these matches as often as we can to you guys. Hopefully my casting isn't terrible. Feedback is appreciated. I do read the chat. I know I butcher a lot of names. It is not my strong suit. I am still learning. I'm trying to improve as best I can, so feedback is welcome. The special battle's up right now, so we have 10 minutes. So we're going to put up an 8-minute timer, take a break, and we'll be back to you just before this last battle starts. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are 1 minute away from the last battle, ninth battle, starting for R-7 versus Villain. It has been a fantastic series for the last hour and a half to watch. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm really glad I picked this match. Um, you know, R-7 picking up the early momentum, taking 3 straight. Villain clawing back into it, taking 3 straight. R-7 taking round, they're getting their 4th win, and then Villain clutching it there at that last round. Really, really close stuff. Came down to like 1,000 HP, which with this many tanks is like almost nothing. So extremely close fights. We're back on Sand River. R7 was extremely dominant early on R7 or against R7. Or no, R7 was extremely dominant versus Villain early on and took the 3 straight. It took Villain to the 4th battle to finally adapt. R7 going a lot heavier than a lot of teams, and Villain struggled to find the answers. So we'll have to see if Villain can find the answer for this night's battle right now. Thoughts, Finish?
Oh, we're back onto Sand River. You said that, didn't you?
Yep.
I hope it's a good one. That's really my only thought.
Yep. Well, we'll have to see if who can pull it out. Now R7 changing it up a little bit, going a little bit lighter. R7 bringing 6 T125s, a Bat Chat, 2 Object 140s, 4 T62As, and a GW E100. So interesting choice for the arty there. Not as much alpha, lower arc, faster reload, bit more accurate, extremely slow. Interesting choice. Villain bringing 7 T110E5s, a Bat Chat, 5 Object 140s, and a Conqueror gun carriage again. So R7 deploying pretty north heavy. A lot of E5s, their Bat Chat out in front of them, getting them the eyes. Villain playing it very similar to how they finished. They have a couple, one scout going up north, an Object 140 getting really aggressive, eyes in the middle here. E5s are just going to push up into this bowl. Meanwhile, a couple of the other E5s are going to take position in the base there on that ledge, and a couple mediums are going to push south. I am really, really skeptical of this setup from R7. Their tanks are so split up, so across the map right now. This makes me a little bit uncomfortable as a caller. You see the ideas. You know what they're going for. They're trying to get that crossfire. On a map this big, it is so easy for the main tanks to get spotted, and for the other team that has all their guns together, making it very easy for them to push onto one side and get a huge overmatch, and it takes your other guns too long to get into the fight. So R7 need to be extremely careful right now with vision management. They need to make sure that a lot of their tanks don't get lit until they're in place, until they close the distances, and until all their guns can support each other. So just like that, the E5s are closing north, and the mediums from Villain are collapsing up the 0 line. They're giving up that south end. And now the tanks from R7 are going to push that kilo line, and they're going to get in there. They need to hurry up and close this point blank so they would have a shot. They're going up and over that berm. They're on the load side there. They should be able to approach without being shot too much. All those Russian turrets shouldn't get penned. E5s are just going to hold. Artillery, I haven't seen fire any shots yet. R7 and Villain have traded a few shots, mostly here in this bowl here. Both down about 1,000, but it's still 2,500 to 2,600, extremely close. And now this is where R7 or Villain are gonna have some well, R7 probably are gonna have more trouble. It's a pretty even fight, even on guns right now. It's just gonna be a corner trade right now. So shots going out in both ends. R7 not winning it. Major Trouble's an early vulnerable spot. Some of the guns are going to try to push through, and the E5s from across the map manage to get some guns in, and they pick off one of the 140s. So these tanks have pushed around. They're going to try to isolate Major Trouble in this 140. He's going to get shot, 1 HP. But Mufasa's going to be next. They need to hurry up and kill Major Trouble and move on to keep his buddy alive. Mufasa's going to get shot, and he goes down. So it's 2-2 right now, 1,900, 1,800, still extremely close. And now these guns, these E5s that were sitting over here at Fox 0 are pushing over into these mediums. And the guns are not in position for R7 to help them out. This is where the mediums up north are going to go ahead and push in. So the E5s are sitting over there pushing over and dominating on this overmatch, but they don't have a long time to clean this up. R7 are down by about 4K now, but they have this slight overmatch. If they can make this overmatch effective, they can still claw this up. Doesn't look like it's going to happen though. They get an ammo R-7, unlucky with the ammo rack, losing about 1,700. There's 2 tanks. It's a 4-on-2, but the mediums are flexing in. HP's about a 5k HP lead in favor of Villian. So if R-7 wants a shot here, they need to be extremely quick. Another ammo rack going out onto one of the tanks of Villian this time. And it's back down to about a 3k damage lead. But just like that, 140 going down for R-7. Artillery shot coming through here, and the Conqueror hitting that E5 for 2,200, repaying R-7 for some of those shots he landed earlier. And it is all but over. 6-12, 9k, 7k up in favor of Villian with 2 tanks left. Great adjustments out of Villian there. You know, what R-7 did, you know, I think a lot of it had to do with what I pointed out early. They telegraphed too much where all their tanks were, and at the end of the day, there weren't consistent shots to where they could support each other. Those mediums got there. The E5s had some minor back shots in base, but once Villian understood that they had that overmatch, they just pushed a bunch of their E5s straight south, and they pushed that overmatch. And those E5s couldn't support them once they pushed down around that corner. And then they tried to push over, and they didn't have a big overmatch in that bull. And Villian just, you know, reading it well. R-7 just splitting their forces too much, and Villian take the victory there. 5-4 overtime win for Villian. You have any thoughts on that series?
I just have a lot of trouble trying to figure out the thought process on the strategy for R-7. I mean, it's so counter what they were doing on this map to begin with. Maybe that was their thought process, that they'd throw them off by doing something counterintuitive and possibly catching a push out. Like maybe they thought Villian was going to get aggressive with their mediums and overmatch something somewhere, but that's a pretty big gamble to take. Offense is very winnable on Sand River, and it kind of splitting their forces kind of just throws it away, I feel.
Yep. So, extremely close stuff there. Really overall entertaining series. You know, props to both teams. Unfortunately, there can only be one winner, and Villian just managed to make the right adjustments at the end there, clawed back into it, and they took that overtime tiebreaker. So, good stuff there. All right, folks. So, we're going to take a, what time is it? It is 35. So, we're going to take about a 20-minute break here. We'll be back about 5 minutes before the next battle starts. Next battle will be Mahau versus Simp, which should be another fantastic series. You know, both clans are well known in the community. Simp obviously known for their WGLNA presence. They've been a power in the WGLNA since its founding, and they have a lot of players that have been playing attack defense since the day it came out. So they have a lot of experience in this. Mahau, though, an up-and-coming powerhouse. A lot of very talented callers and players. I've had a lot of fun both playing and calling against them in Strongholds recently. They're a very capable team, and it could be a, you know, has the makings to be another great series just like this one. So tune back in about 20 minutes, folks. We'll put up a timer, and we'll be starting back up top of the hour.